Hello, everyone. Workshops for Mom here. And we are excited to share so many amazing things. We have 3 great speakers today. And actually, if you want to share your screen, Tracy, you're already sharing, so you can make it full screen and then we can see it. So I am Ren Robertz, and I am speaking second today, and I will introduce our other speakers. And for the first speaker of the day is Tracy Cheney. And Tracy, oh yeah, Tracy is a master teacher, having taught thousands of kids over the decades from preschool to 8th grade, and 5 generations. Why? Tracy is a California Teacher of the Year.
I think somebody needs to turn off. There we go. There we go. Okay.
Sorry.
Now we're getting.
Okay. We've got some mute. There we go. Okay. We'll just make sure to keep our lines. Okay, sorry about that. So Tracy is a California Elementary Art Teacher of the Year in 2013. Her program was also honored as a California Exemplary Program in 2015. Tracy was selected to serve on the California State Education Committee of 5 specialists to write the new art standards for the public schools, adopted by the California legislature in 2019. Tracy also produced an award-winning public radio show covering education for 5 years called Making the Grade. And she was also appointed by the mayor of her city of 70,000 to chair his youth commission for 5 years. She saw the need to bring art to the alternative high school in the area. She designed and integrated an art pilot program, the Arts and Science Middle School, and created the first program for latchkey kids known as After School Art Studio, which operated for 7 years. Having worked in 14 schools and taught hundreds and hundreds of kindergartners, Tracy knows it's important to reach the parents of small children ages 2 through 5 in this age of handheld electronics. You know, all those little babies with gadgets in their hands. That's what she's talking about today. And Tracy is going to reassure you that scribbling and coloring is the path to thriving in school. So take it away, Tracy.
All right. Thank you for that great introduction, Ren. I am on a mission, and that is to make sure our babies are ready for pre-K and kindergarten. And believe it or not, it has become a big issue, and you can guess why. It's the handheld electronics. Today, I'm going to talk to you about 4 key essentials for getting kids ready for school, plus 1 that I've added to that. We're going to talk about brain development with little kids, and then the 3 stages of drawing with the ages 2 to 5, so in preschool, kindergarten readiness. And then school expectations now, and what I'm hoping to accomplish for all of our little ones. So I want to say thank you for being here. Whether you're a parent, a grandparent, or a caregiver of really small children, you're equipped to do this. That's nothing fancy here. And that's what I want you to be assured of, that the way that we've always gotten ready for kindergarten and preschool is still the way to do it. And the one thing that I want parents to realize that have small children aiming towards preschool and kindergarten is, if you are thinking of preschool for next fall, now I know this is the end of October and we're all getting ready for Halloween, and we love that. However, so many teachers have disappeared and preschools are closing. And if you are thinking in any way that you want to do that, then I want to tell you that you need to get busy on getting an interview or getting a slot. They may all be gone in January. And I don't want to be alarmist, but I also don't want you to go, wow, in May, there is nothing, and we thought we were going to get to go. So please know that it's important to be thinking about that. And I thank you, Lauren, for covering my credentials. I don't really need to discuss that, but what I do want to point out is that having taught so many kids in 3 states, in all kinds of settings, what I'm going to share with you are universal truths about small kids. and the importance of drawing and scribbling to their brain development and their hand development. Now, we have known this about drawing and art since the 1940s. And the 4 key essentials have been, you've even see them on billboards. So they've been around since the 1970s. I've just added my one. So I put all of this into a book actually it was for staff and for parents. As I would interview parents and they'd go, wow, I didn't know all of this. So I kind of started collecting all that information. I think I'm in my, let's see. Yeah. We want to make sure that kids are drawing 10 minutes a day as we are getting them used to reading out loud, being read to, and eating well and playing. The problem is that playing, which used to be the number 4, included drawing, and it just kind of was lumped in there without a real understanding of the part that it plays, or even that it was important. And I've seen this in preschools now too, as preschools feel like they need to be academic, not realizing that drawing is academic for small children. So we're going to talk about their art marks. We're not trying to turn kids into artists. We're not trying to make them be fancy drawers. We're not even making judgment on it. They just need to do it. And the reason they need to do it is they work through this themselves. And what we want kids to get to the point is that they understand that symbols stand for things, just like in the caves of Lascaux, that they understood that their drawings were standing for things. Children need to do a lot of drawing and scribbling to get to that point, that they understand that. And when they get there, that is so exciting. You are so lucky as parents to get to go through that process. I never get tired of it. And I just want to assure you that kids do not need a lot of art materials, but they do need the materials because this is going to develop before they really have a lot of verbal skills. And we know what this little guy's thinking. I just love him. So how is scribbling tied to your children's developing brain? It's their academic preparation. So this actually is the foundation for understanding, reading, and writing, and math, because they need to develop their fine motor skills. And the amazing thing is that what you do with your hands is translating directly to developing all those synapses that are really all coming together in those first 5 years. So we can't ignore this. And the interesting thing is, you didn't teach your child to walk, to crawl, to grow their teeth, and you're not going to teach them how to draw either. You just need to provide the materials, which are very simple for little kids. Don't give them too much choice. And even though the child naturally wants to do this, it can get short-circuited. And I'm seeing babies now with phones attached to their carrier, and they're spending their time in a 2D world created by adults instead of looking around and putting all this information together. That's what kids are doing. And when they get to 4, they're the ones who are asking why? Well, they've put all this together first. They need to be observing our 3D world. So we need to understand how kids draw. How they learn. They draw first, and then they read, and then they write. And what's happening in kindergarten now? Kindergarten is first grade, what used to be first grade. I've watched that all happen. They're being asked as a 5-year-old to write sentences. To be able to do that is a very hard task if you haven't had a crayon in your hand for about the first 3 years before you come to kindergarten. And we just can't teach them beyond what they're ready for. And they will get themselves ready for this with crayons and pencils in their hands. They will get themselves ready if you just let them go to it. So there are 3 stages of scribbling. And when you first give a child that materials, that random stuff, that's just about, woohoo, that feels great and exciting. And with enough practice, you start to get to controlled marks. And then you get to marks where the child is actually naming what's going on in their narrative. That is a really important step. And that's where they've made the connection that symbols stand for things. You are watching your child's thinking develop right before your eyes. So in random scribbling, just exactly what it says, they are strengthening, though, these muscles, and we want them to do that. And so when a child's sitting on your lap and they go to grab that pen, don't take it away. Give them a piece of paper and let them get started. They are showing you their innate interest, and this is part of being a little human being. When we start to see more controlled drawing, now kids are becoming handed, are we right-handed, left-handed? And this is where we start seeing the beginning strokes that will turn into penmanship eventually. And this stage is where you can really start talking to your child about what they are seeing, what's going on in their drawings. And we are never, ever judgmental about it. It's just, if they can talk to you about it, if they want to talk to you about it, great. Sometimes they don't. It is such an internal thing that they are participating in. When we get to symbolism, and this is when a child can actually take a shape and close it. So they've gone through making some very definite, they can cross, that is a skill. And when they can start to close things, we're going to talk about tadpole people in a minute, but we are very excited to see this because now we're starting to see that they ask to write things. This happens to be my granddaughter sitting in a Frozen costume. She was not interested in writing her own name, and you're not going to force that. But what she wanted to spell was Elsa. How do you spell Elsa? We had Elsa all over the place. That's fabulous. This is directed by their interests, not yours. And you shouldn't expect to see things colored like grass is green. That is not a concept at this point. They don't see that yet. So here is when we are at this symbol, at symbolism, and we really are starting to be ready for pre-K. When we start to see a line that becomes, we want to stand on something, and put the thing on it, then we are really at kindergarten level, because they have now observed enough out in the outside world that things stand on things, and that is their perception. Really, these kids are really paying attention. So when we're at this stage, they are now starting to draw things. This is how rainbows look. This is how I draw a house, not how you draw a house, how they will draw a house. And here you can see this little drawing with the everything on the baseline. That's what we're looking for, because then they are really ready to read. When we're way back at the scribble stage, we are not. And that is not a judgment or anything else. Whoops, my slides are not advancing here. Uh-oh, my slides are stuck. There we go. All right, the next thing that we start looking for. Now, when I work with, I'm sorry, we're sticking there. When I have a kindergarten class, what I like to do, and with first grade classes, is I ask everybody to draw their family. Of course, they have been observing you for 4 or 5 years. You've been in their little faces. They are drawing you. This is so cool. And I have to say, when you start seeing the development of tadpole people, this is universal. It doesn't matter where you live or how many decades I've been teaching. This is how people draw, or little people draw people. And yes, you've been a big face in their face, and they are very short. You are very giant. And it does look like you are legs, because they're kind of hanging around the base of your legs. You are seeing accurate drawing, and they're really working hard to be able to depict that. That's what we have to really honor. If you would like a handout of this stages of drawing, I have it on my website that you can pick it up. We'll put a link in the chat. What I'm looking for when I take a class of work and spread it out is the kids. You don't need a whole lot of fancy tests. We spend a lot of money on testing in schools, but this will tell you a lot of what you used to know. It used to be, it told me everything. But now, because of electronics, the iPad was only invented 12 years ago. It has changed things so much. And I don't know if a child in kindergarten who's scribbling Is that because they had handheld electronics and they really weren't doing crayons? Does it mean that they just had no exposure? Like for us in our family, our daughter adopted a child who at 5 had only been in foster care, hadn't been read to. Nobody had showed him or worked with him on his letters and had no experience drawing. So then, when you see a child who's not drawing at grade level, you kind of start to look at it. And the kids that are in the reading group that's ready to go, don't want to hold them back. But I also want to really pay attention to kids who, we want to analyze this and not wait till 3rd grade to get help. We can see it in their drawings at this age. When we get a little bit older, you see the evolution of this, and they will stay at this stage for a long time until there's some intervention. And for a lot of kids, they'll kind of get stuck right there. And then they feel like they can't draw when they get older, but that's another conversation. We're just talking about the little ones here. So schools use the CDC guidelines for milestones, and they have little bare mentions about art to be done at this age, but you can tell that they just don't quite have it the way that I want them to. So what I did was imposed on the CDC charts, the growth charts that schools use, the marks that you should be looking for at this age. So you're not going to see the marks if you don't give the kids the tools. So I have them 2, 3, 4, 5. You can pick those up at the CDC. That's our government paying for them. You can pick it up and have it right at your fingertips. And as I've said, school has gotten a lot more demanding on little kids, and it's because we have shoved down the 1st grade into kindergarten. So what I noticed in kindergarten, where there used to be lots of stations and dress up and all those things that we're kind of used to having, and having plenty of drawing time, that's kind of going out the window. I want to just back up here for just one thing to say about what is happening is we are not valuing the drawing part. And I've had a lot of different scenarios to share, but one that I like to tell about, I was alarmed. It was in a big school in Texas. And on Valentine's Day, the teacher in kindergarten, and we had 8 kindergartens, called and said, "Oh my gosh, the principal just said no more drawing in kindergarten. The only thing they can have is your class." I went, "What?" Because these kids, this was an inner city school, they need more drawing, not less. So I flew down, this is a super long highway. I was just running down the highway and flew into the principal's office and said, "No, these kids need to have more art instead of more writing. They're not ready for that yet." So I ended up writing a grant so that I could have, believe this or not, remedial art at kindergarten before school so that we could work on these things. So here's what it looks like for what we're expecting of preschool kids now. So for their pre-writing skills are drawing skills. That comes out of the scribbling, and you can see they need to have some practice with that, because numbers are not going to make sense to you until you understand about symbolism. We need to be, spending a lot of time on all of this. But let's look what happens at kindergarten. We want kindergartners now. You're not learning your ABCs in kindergarten. You already know how to handle a pencil is the expectation. And I'm not saying that kindergarten teachers want to do this. A lot of will tell you this is not age appropriate, and especially for whatever population you're teaching. But these are the standards that are coming down, and school just has to go with it. So if the children haven't had that practice, they're not ready to do this. Okay, how did I get ready for school? We colored a lot. There's me on the bottom row in a headband. We kids played outside. Our moms kicked us out. We were gone for the day. We had a really different experience. But also the younger kids, our younger siblings, would come to the table and color. We did miles of coloring, loads of it. Yes, we had TV, but not quite in our face like this. All right, so if you would like to have that download, you can certainly go to my website and pick it up. there you will see a preschool tab, and you'll find it under good stuff. And there's also a little coloring of my little Mr. Doodly here. I'm wanting to do a site for kids that includes 10 minutes of drawing a day with a read aloud and my favorite art books, so that kids that aren't getting that experience, like my grandson didn't, want to make sure that they're having some reading time and some doodle time. And the thing is, I think it will stretch out to more than 10 minutes, and that's what we want. But I also want to give moms a little break on this. And so I'm looking forward to doing that and getting that out there at some point. We're coming to it. But anyway, this is my mission. If you help me spread the word that this is really important, if you are going out to look at preschools, asking what's happening with their art centers, for instance, little children, if we can keep them off screens totally till they're at least 2, and then limit it and realize that the time they spend on screens, they also need to spend time working on those hand skills. So if they have a screen, they also need to come over here and make sure that they're drawing. And what I've seen in the schools where I've taught, and having conversation with preschool teachers, is letting the art center, well, kind of fade, but it becomes optional, and it just can't be that. The kids need to have that 10 minutes a day, at least, that they are doing that consistently every day, so that they make the progress they need to be making. And it's been interesting talking to kindergarten teachers where the preschool has not been doing that. They have really noticed that, okay, we know our ABC is great, but we're not ready to be able to do everything that we need to because our hands aren't ready for it yet. And our hands and our brains are connected that way. And if we think about art equals thinking, then we'll see how important it is. So thank you for letting me give you my soapbox. It's been my soapbox for a few decades now. And I just need to get it out there in a bigger way. And I realized when I was doing parent-teacher conferences during the pandemic and we all had to switch to Zoom, wow, I could now reach the group of parents that we never see until school starts. And for some kids, that means we're already behind. So that's where I've been wanting to make a difference. And thanks so much for joining me on getting ready for preschool the right way.
Thank you so much, Tracy. And if anyone has any questions, you can pop them in the chat, or you're welcome to come on camera as well. Either way, though,
sure.
Congratulations for everyone for those amazing tips, especially for our next generation.
I see something in chat, but I'm not pulling it up here.
Okay, that was actually a link to your gift.
Great. Okay, awesome. Well, please enjoy it because I put in there cleared through to where your kids are like at 3rd grade so that you can make that judgment yourself. And remember, there's no criticism about it. It's just, an observation. And the only way that they're going to get to the next level, they have to draw their way to the next level. Doesn't matter what you say, they need to practice to do it. So thank you. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay. Well, if we don't have any other questions, we can go ahead and take a few minutes before I come up and share with our mompreneurs how to rock your business with ease.
All right. Well, let me.
Well, I was going to say we have a few minute break. So
okay.
Before I was just teasing.
Yes, so if you have to run out for a minute, you can do that.
Yep. And then we will start exactly at the quarter, or anyway, at the 30, wherever it is in your world. In our world, it's 4:30. So wherever you are.
And on the Pacific.
On the Pacific.
Yeah, on the Pacific.
So I'm going to pause the recording and then we will restart in a few minutes.
Okay. You can. Welcome back from our little break. Maybe you did some coloring. I hope so. Well, I get to introduce you to the amazing Ren Robertz. She's an expert business coach and creator of financial freedom and joy. And this is something she's been doing for a number of years. And this is a business accelerator for entrepreneurs. Ren developed the techniques that she teaches as FFJ through her own experience building financially successful businesses from scratch. By age 25, Ren had grown her first business to become an industry leader in Los Angeles with over $500,000 in annual sales. Then she sold it and she moved to her dream of Hawaii, having never been there. And she started all over again, where she built 3 more entirely different businesses using the same fundamentals that she had developed in her first business. And she did this as a single mom before she turned 30. Ren strongly believes there's nothing mysterious about making the shift to the business owner versus a self-employment mindset when you use her proven method. It's a two-pronged approach, using widely available technology that we all have and cultivating a business owner mentality. She loves sharing her tools that you can replicate. Ren reminds us all that investing time now can make all the difference in your life, your business, and your world. So let's hear from Ren, who is living her mission to help other women of all ages get their businesses built. Welcome, Ren, to Workshops for Moms, who moms are entrepreneurs too. I know we have a lot of moms thinking about that.
Oh, thank you so much for the lovely intro, Tracy. And Papa Yes in the chat, if you are a mompreneur or a wanna mompreneur, I love that as well.
Hey.
So welcome everyone. So I am so excited to be sharing with you all about business, which is one of my favorite topics in the world. So just a wonderful welcome to all of you, and especially our mompreneurs. I know you're juggling a lot. You have kids and businesses, and I love to compare my business to having a kid. You know, we have our little tiny infancy business and we nurture and we grow, and then ideally it toddles off and it blossoms. And so that's what we're doing in our businesses and our lives. So let's put a little more ease into that. And to define ease, let's jump into how we're actually going to do that. So a lot of the things that we look at is that we want to have more money, more joy, and more freedom. And so to really make our businesses and allow them to grow, there's a lot of systems that we get to put in, as well as one of my favorite words, passive income. And we also get to put in support that allows us. And a lot of the times I know that some moms especially get worried if we think about support and needing to hire someone else or things like that. So I want to assure you that a lot and almost all of the things that I teach you can do for free. So these save you both time and money, and we are rocking those businesses for you. Okay, so I love to just get in the habit of starting all of my presentations with this slide. So if you join me on other business trainings, you'll see it too. So one, congrats for all of you, because I can pretty much guarantee, and I'd love you to challenge me if you don't get some gems from this. So congrats, this is a wise investment for all of you in your businesses. And I have a gift for you at the end, actually probably 2 gifts, even though I'm only supposed to give 1. I tend to love to overgive to everyone. So there's a few special things that I'll share with you all at the end. So it'll be about the next 20 minutes, 25 minutes. Make sure that we're wrapping up right at 5 o'clock because we have another fabulous workshop for Mom Speaker coming up. So 11:11. If this is my only message in the world to all of you, it's that remember to take a gratitude moment. And the more gratitude and appreciation that you give in the now, scientifically, spiritually, whatever realm you want to put your faith in, those gratitude moments now project and create your future. So giving gratitude for every step of your journey and where you're at now allows this to come back to you. And that's the number 1 hot tip on creating more in your business and doing it with ease. Just thank everything for where you're at and also bless where you're going. So 11:11, I love that number, and I have it in my phone every day, and it goes off and it reminds me to have a gratitude moment. And sometimes maybe I don't take it right at 11:11, though. When I see that reminder, I always just take a pause. And I invite you all to take the same pause. Just take a big breath. And whatever it might be, maybe it's just a drink of water. Just take a moment for everything wonderful in your life. So I invite you, put a reminder somewhere in your phone, in a sticky note, somewhere, any time of day. Maybe it's your birthday in a clock form, whatever it might be. Put some more gratitude reminders in your life. And let's see. Also for you all, I love to have my water nearby. And if you have any questions, ideally, you can take a screenshot of this. You can write it down. You can, however you need to take notes, you can connect with me later or pop it in the chat. And then also the very first note on here that our friend put is VAK. So what that is first, it's the connecting with all of your senses so you remember things better. Remember, we're having an investment of your time. So if you're going to stay here with me, and I hope you do, make sure that you make this the best investment possible. So look with your eyes, listen with your ears, and then the K stands for do something with your body. Put it in the chat, write it down, do something, and that also helps you retain it for later. Can I get a yes in the chat if you are committed to putting some chats in there? However you need to be, I'm really excited. And I have some wonderful wing women like my other speakers to let me know if there's anything urgent in the chat. Otherwise, I'll revisit those. We got some yeses coming in. Okay. So just to clarify for all of you is that this is a safe spot. So I do want you to feel like you can engage and share what's on your mind, especially moms. That's what workshops for moms is really incorporating, is a place for everyone to be connected and to share their mom journey. So whether you're, thinking about business, or maybe you have zero interest, though you're just curious about the topic, feel free to share whatever your space is, and we're going to hold that time for you. Okay. So I also always like to set my intentions, and I really, really am excited for you all to take home some real gems. And if my wonderful wing women can make sure that the lines stay muted, that would be fantastic. Okay. So moms, even if you feel like you're struggling with technology, anyone feel like that? like I know this is supposed to be happening, though. Oh my gosh, you got to go down that rabbit hole. Or also too many things that you feel like you need to do. I promise you that you can have the rocking business too. So here we go. And I love this. You can do it. And so just to inspire you all that everything is possible for you. And why do I know this? Because I teach this and I see it all the time. My current students that were with me in my FFJ program that just graduated a few weeks ago, these are their class success. So just, you can see this for yourself. So in all these different things, whether it's a money goal, a peace of mind goal, or time freedom goals, like all of this is our self. And so we love to celebrate the wins in our life and our business, and even having really amazing families and relationships with your children is another one as well. So those are all the ways that we look at our wins. So I'm blessed to work with so many different business owners from all realms of businesses, because what I teach, it's very fundamental and core, and it's Google Docs, and it's Slack, and it's this, and we can make all of this sort of stuff work for you as it works for others in their businesses and their lives. So I'm not going to spend too much talking about me because I want to jump into all the juice for you all, though just know I'm Ren, or Lauren, and I've been searching and grateful for so much joy in life. And I sparked very early that I love the idea of financial freedom, business, and what I was missing, I just went for the money. I thought money was going to solve it. So, okay, I'll have a business, the business will make money, and I'll be happy. And I learned No, we work on the happiness first and then everything else grows. And when I flip that around upside down, the abundance and the joy really, really changed my life. So I'm grateful to that journey. So now I do get to live my mission, and I realized this purpose years ago, just streaming through my head. It actually caused me to be willing to sell my first company and go on to other companies. And I'm so grateful because now I get to share all this stuff with so many other businesses. So my first business was a petting zoo. So I was the kid who had a gazillion and 10 different pets and ideas and all that sort of stuff. And everyone just told me I was going to be like a dolphin trainer. Or as soon as you say, oh, I love animals, well, you should be a vet, which is the equivalent of doctor. So all of those sort of things, I was like, well, I don't know if that's where I really want to spend my time. So ended up at 19 years old, I founded a petting zoo company with a business partner. And so I ran the business and she took care of all the animals. And we had a lot. I got to have every single animal I'd ever dreamed about. Hand raised my parrots. My business partner loved the reptiles. So that's where all the snakes and stuff came in. I loved my ponies and all of those friends. And so you can see the staff photo 4 years later. We had grown. Now we had a 2-acre property in Los Angeles, which ain't cheap. The business was doing celebrity parties all the time. Though, what was I doing? Working nonstop to grow this business. And so I learned a whole lot, and I got all of my dreams on paper and was like, well, what's missing? And for me, it was motherhood. And so after teaching thousands and thousands of children and doing all sorts of presentations, I'm like, I'm ready to be a mom. And so I actually adopted 3 children out of foster care in Compton. And so I became instant presto family. And it was in that moment that I learned that my goal of starting a business to have a business, not a job, was actually quite flawed. And so I had discovered that way back when I had not updated my mindset, and I had treated this as a job, and I never paid myself as an owner. And so when I became a mom, I then needed to trade my time for dollars. The only way was for me to get paid my very nice big salary now at that point, because we were doing $500,000 in sales. And I didn't have my time. So I couldn't spend time with this new family and these children that I was fostering and then went on to adopt. And so I realized that I needed to do something different, because all of my weekends, I needed to be bringing in money. And during the week, I was running the business. And so I needed to do a lot on myself and figure this out. And at that moment, all I was committed to was that I knew that I could step out of my life of what it looked like and be able to continue. Like, it was like, oh my gosh, like, how will all this work? And it was a really dark moment for me when I just remember sitting by that pool. The kids had dropped off at school and I was just bawling my head off. And I had no one that I could call that would understand my problems. I was an entrepreneur. Like, they don't get it. They all have jobs. And then I'm a mom, and most moms don't have businesses. And then all of that is like the money. How am I going to now pay for my house if I choose not to work in this business? And so it was at that moment that I chose that there was something apart, that I could trust myself, that I was going to figure it out. And I'm so grateful to say that I did. It was not an easy climb out. There was a lot of tears, and I learned a lot of business systems. And I started surrounding myself first with other entrepreneurs, and then I got mentors. And then I went on, as you can see here, the little happy faces, as I taught people. And so I was like, oh my gosh. So I learned all this stuff. I grew myself. I went back to my first business, and they were like, no, you have to work to have this job. So I was like, okay, so these are the tools that now I'm going to share with you, because what I learned is that they can be integrated into every single business. And so I did it with that business. And then I ended up replacing myself so much that I don't have to be there. And 10 years later, this is a recent photo, that they're still growing without me because of the business systems that I put into place. So whether you have a business that you are feeling like you're drowning in, or you have different ideas of what you thought you were going to be creating and you're not sure about that, I'm going to show you the tools that are going to make your life and your business so much smoother. So getting to you is, what is that vision of financial freedom for you? There was something calling to you that, your purpose. And so I just invite you to take that moment and to trust that whatever inspired you, that it's still there. And so I'm just going to stop sharing for a moment. I'm just curious for all of you moms, is like, whether you want to come on camera or just pop in the chat, just what is it that you are inspired to create in your business? So let's see. Oh, and I love those chats. Okay, I know we'll give it a little moment, though. I just wanted to kind of just share with you all is that you're not alone, that there's so much of whatever it is you want to create, and that you don't have to feel like you're drowning in all of these things. So we will make it happen, I promise. So let's dive into our shares. And boom. How are we going to master these business systems? And so the first thing that we're going to look at is active versus passive income, as well as active versus passive time. Now, in my business, that petting zoo, from the beginning, I had paid myself only for working in the business, and it ended up costing me the business. And so what I've learned now is that from the beginning, I always pay myself a slice of passive income. And so it can be any number, 1/4%, a 100th%, though, something to differentiate between you in your mind. I'm getting passive income from my business and I'm getting active income. And so it just helps. And even if you are working, like a job for someone else, that doesn't matter. You're investing time. Pay yourself whatever the total is. Say, okay, well, this amount is my passive income paycheck. So that's what I'm really invite you, is to start making that shift and thinking about where you can start paying yourself passive. Most people, and I like to credit Mr. Robert Kiyosaki of Rich Dad Poor Dad, who was one of my early mentors, emphasizes that you need to get your money working for you and be passive. Now, what he teaches is that you want to be this investor. Passive income is like real estate, and it is, stocks. Well, then in order to do real estate and stocks, then you, as a person, have to invest your time to learn about those, right? Well, you're actually being self-employed. You're just learning. So here's the cash flow quadrant that Rich Dad Poor Dad, the second book, all about the cash flow quadrant, emphasizes that how the flow that you actually shift is by jumping to a business system. So when you have a system that runs for you, that's how you then become the investor, because the extra money that your business is generating, then you turn into investments. And so that's the key thing that people look at and they think, oh, I want to go to investor, and they just go there. And that's where I like to teach you all is we have businesses, you're mompreneurs, and these systems, as we refine them and tweak them, a lot of them with free, simple things, that then you're starting to build and generate this amazing cog that's generating a system of passive income and sales for you. So let's dive in a little more on that. Number 2, in order to make that shift, there's only one way, really, honestly, especially to get the joy, is that when you look to build your business, the most people have the internal dialogue in their program that they are not their biggest cheerleader. And if they think, or you think about what most of the dialogue that you're saying to yourself, if it's positive self-talk, that's fantastic. Boom, we're ready to go. if there's a lot of negative self-talk, even if it's, I'm not good enough, or I'm never going to be able to figure it out, or this business is killing me, or my kids, I'm not able to do this and tell my kids, all of those are actually the mental blocks that are preventing your business from making that jump. So until we work on the internal dialogue, then that is something that we are not going to make that shift. So the 3 keys, first we look at our active versus passive, then we look at our mindset, and then I'm going to make sure we stay in our time and kind of buzz through on these. This is just the mindset. The number one thing that prompted Americans to start their business, they want more passion and purpose. Then they think wealth. So those are the reasons that they're thinking. On the next slide, you're going to see most businesses fail. So we have our stats against us. And then here's our mindset piece. The full list of why they failed, they'll look at what's in the yellow box. Most people go into starting their business thinking that they don't have enough money. And then the second fear that's dominating is it's not going to work out. It's not going to work out. Well, look over there on that list of the top reasons why they fail: money and the lack of the market need. Like it didn't work. Like nobody wanted them. So those 2 things are what then shows up in their business. And that's why, my dear, dear friends and students, we work on our mindset to make sure that we can overcome that jump. Because look at that, 70%, if you do 40% plus 30%, that's the 70% back here. If you look, after 10 years, most businesses have gone out of business. And so thankfully, that company I first started is going to be celebrating 15 years in a few months. So congratulations to them. So I'm not going to spend too much time because I want to dive in a little more on the techie side. So I love Bob Proctor. So it's just the science behind. Please message me later on. We can definitely have a little session and talk more about this, though this is where our thoughts really do turn into the results. So there's a big emphasis on why we want to spend time updating the mindset. So that it's because the inspired action, the doing part, all the to-do lists and the systems that we're about to dive into for step 3, that is only going to be flowing and growing your business and making that jump from working for your money as self-employed to your business is working for you. You are an owner. So is by doing the inspired action. So our mindset is in line and we pick a technology or a tool and we go. So here we go. I'm not going to do our breathing yet, though I'll tell you, if you're interested in my little breathing technique, I am more than happy to put it as an easy link later, and then you're welcome to check it out. And it's a great breathing technique that you can always do to feel better now, from to or even better. So it's a great tool to help you get on your mindset at all times that you have a tool. And we have, that's another tool I'll add there, though. We're going to just skip it. Okay, because I want to dive into our systems in our last few minutes. So moms, here's how you save your time. So we have the intention. I'm going to be shifting from only active work to I'm going to have my positive passive work. My mindset is all lined up. And so how do I save time? First, we're working on our business, not just in it. So considering, first of all, could someone else do this for you? That's the first thought, and letting go. And it's scary. It is. And so love to you all, even if it's scary, start thinking anything in your business. If you're posting something on Facebook, like an event or something, hey, could this start to get delegated? And then consider, is it more about how can you afford it versus I just can't afford it? Because as soon as you say can't, your whole brain starts to go, all right, and it lets you off the hook. So as a business owner, we're going to start shifting to how you can afford it. And I love to incorporate Google Suite, it's totally free, from Google Docs to all sorts of different techie things. And that's actually what I'm doing tomorrow for free. I'm going to show you in a second. So all of this sort of tools that are free that you can use. I like to do all of my tasks at the same time or be very focused on a project. So even as a busy mom, you're getting scattered. Well, at least if you have one project, you know what you're working on in between kid visits. So it really, really helps to know your tasks and then to be asking for assistance, and it doesn't always have to be paid. You can be doing buddy swaps, even with a friend. If you said an hour a month, even that you and someone else are going to practice trading tasks, it's training your brain to think that someone else can do that for you. And when we start to think, well, what can they do for me? There's two places to start thinking. One is your inbox. So if you're really busy and you have either a very busy email box, some of us have thousands. I know some of my students have had over 50,000 emails in their inbox before they started learning some systems. So however it might be, make sure either you can train on the start just on inboxes or on repetitive tasks. So if you're posting, say, an event every single week, like our workshops for mom, our VA is getting trained to do that and keep it up for us so that we can be doing other things and then slowly delegating more and more to them as well. And one trick that I just love, and it'll save you so much time, is that going to your Zoom when you record. So, and even if you, most of the things, so this might not be 100% free if you have to pay for Zoom to record it, though generally by yourself, you can even record your screen sharing. If you don't want to pay, you can use Loom, Loom. That's 5 minutes for free. So record, upload that recording to your YouTube channel. I like to have a private one that just says recordings or trainings or virtual assistant trainings. Make all your videos unlisted. You can then drop the link in a Google Doc and boom, you save time because now your training is set for anyone in the future who wants to help you. So before I wrap up, that was just some examples. Let me show you what's happening tomorrow. So it's my VIP day and it is free for you all. So first of all, I go into an expanded thing talking to you about how to create more passive income from your business. So that's tomorrow morning. And then tomorrow afternoon is the technology. So whether you can come to 5 minutes of either of these or stay the whole time, you're more than welcome to do that. And here is the information. So you can go to, and we'll drop it in the chat as well. So your bit.ly/FFJ-October. That's all my October events. And since we're at the end of the month, it's my VIP day is on there. So I'm excited to connect with you and take it away. I'm going to be introducing our next speaker. Okay, let's see, and we'll get Candy back over here. She's got a couple minutes. We'll pause it. Okay, and we are back with Candy. So let me introduce our next speaker, Candy E. Harris. She lives in Memphis, Tennessee, with her husband of 14 years. They are the proud parents of Marcus, who's 11, Cadence, who's 10, and Miles is 9. So Candy knows a lot about motherhood. Can we get up for her? Candy served in the public education school system for 15 years as a history teacher. Today, she continues to serve as a professional school counselor in a Memphis high school with a bunch of teenagers. She was just oh my goodness, she's an expert on teens. And I know she has a lot of wisdom to share about that age group. As the author of Waymond God, Motherhood Ain't For Me, Candy believes that every mom has a story about her motherhood journey and understands that the story isn't always pretty. She hopes that sharing her transparent yet comical motherhood journey will encourage another mom who may be feeling overwhelmed by her blessings, aka children. Today, she's going to talk about mom self-care. Oh, yes. Take it away, Candy.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Hello to everyone. Good evening. I have enjoyed myself thus far learning about coloring, which is huge and a fan favorite for me. I have always enjoyed coloring, and I definitely made sure my children did a lot of that as they were getting older or in those ages of preschool, because it's definitely with the tech world, my goodness, they're getting so far away from it, where now they can just color on their screens and not actually hold a crayon. And as a mompreneur, I loved everything you shared. I too have a small business, and that was definitely something, some nuggets I could take away from that. But to wrap us up this evening, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you all. Thank you for being here. Thank you for inviting me. I absolutely love this platform. This is amazing. A place where moms can come and learn so much from one another. I am now pushing buttons and hoping that I'm sharing. Am I sharing?
You
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yay!
Perfecto.
Okay, so the title of what I would like to share with you all is called Overwhelmed by My Blessings, which Ren said, AKA children. And as moms, we know that that can be a fact. We love our children, we enjoy our children, we have fun with them, we do all the things, but there are times where we can be completely overwhelmed with all things motherhood. We wear so many hats outside of just being a mom, so a lot can then weigh heavy on our shoulders when it comes to being the best mom because of all of the outside things, especially if we are working moms. But I never want to dismiss the fact that I know there are a lot of stay-at-home moms who I always give a high and mighty salute, because I say that they have one of the hardest jobs, 24/7, all day long, being with babies. But I know that too can be very overwhelming. And so I wanted to at least share a little piece of what self-care looks like for moms, because we tend to forget about that from time to time. So let's take a peek at if all things work as they should. I want to go to the next slide and it may not do that.
Let's see. Well, because I'm noticing we can see the bottom bar, so maybe it's not in quite the slideshow mode.
Maybe not in the slideshow mode.
So there's a little black screen. Is that it, Lauren? Down at the bottom?
I'm seeing it looks no, it's like on Candy's computer possibly. Let's see. What you could do, Candy, is you can always stop sharing for a moment. Just take a breath. We're all good. And then you can make sure on your side after you stop sharing, okay, is the slideshow like ready to move forward? And then you can reshare it.
Okay, so let's try. What does that do? Does that do anything?
That looks good. Yep.
Yep,
Now we
there
got
you
it. Perfect. You got it.
Thank you. So here's what the agenda looks like. Thank you for your patience. I just want to briefly give you my story. I want to tell you or share what oftentimes we ask, like, what is self-care? Because we often get the idea that that's going to get massages and our nails done. And that's not always the case of what self-care is. And we don't always have to spend money. We know sometimes we have to pinch pennies when we have little people or big people who have grown into, now I have preteens and I have to pinch pennies because they play baseball and basketball and soccer, and self-care looks a little bit different depending on what your age group is of your children. I want to look at why self-care is important for mothers, and 6 types of self-care where we can look at that specifically. And then finally give you some ideas that you can take away so that you can then implement that in your life if you're not already doing that. So briefly, a story, just a little bit of myself. As you can see here on the screen, and I'm hoping thumbs up, everything's still looking good on your side. Great. So these are my 3 little people. And I say little people all the time. I like to refer to them as little people because they are just that, just little humans that my husband and I are only nurturing to be, the future people we know that one day they will be as adults. But these 3 little people came into my life 11 years ago. And I once upon a time said that I would never have children. I thought I was going to be the lady who was moving to New York City. I was going to have my own little loft and catching taxis and kind of living that life, traveling footloose, fancy free is what my plan was for myself. However, with my own faith, and I believe God has a different plan or had one for my life, and I ended up with 3 little people in 3 years. And for me to have that mindset that I wasn't going to have children, and then I did end up having more than I even bargained for, you can imagine that once we put something in our minds and our plans don't go as we thought they were going to, that begins to change your thought process, which makes the overwhelming feelings almost seem magnified because I had a different expectation. However, throughout the aspect of raising all 3 of them up to where they are now, I had to dig deeper in looking at what does self-care look like, because I began to lose myself a little bit. So again, I say I always sing the praises for stay-at-home mothers, but I found out while staying at home on maternity leave that staying at home was not for me. That wasn't self-care for me, and I needed to work outside of the home. That helped me get rid of some of the anxieties and pressures that I was putting on myself at home. And so I began to think and journal. I love to journal. I love to write. And when I would write my stories or when I would share my thoughts and feelings, that ended up being a process of a book. And I would share a lot of those things and just random things that would happen in my house or the things that our children do. I would share it and people would say, that's so funny, you're crazy, you should write a book. And again, I thought, maybe I should. If moms are relating to that and they're picking up on that and the transparency and honest truth about they're driving me insane today, or I am not liking a kid today, we're not meshing. And so a lot of times me just sharing that, moms would say, okay, at least I know I'm not the only one and people won't judge me and all of that. And so I placed all of that into a book, which I began to share my raw stories of how children affected not only me and my plan, but then my marriage. And so that was an overwhelming feeling because we know within that aspect, having children, your marriage begins to look different because it's no longer about just you and him. Now we're talking about a family unit. So I looked at that. I was looking at overwhelmed with finances. We now all of a sudden have 3 children in 3 years. Do I stay home? Do I go back to work? So I'm overwhelmed there. Then I'm looking at my profession. Am I letting it go? Am I going to still continue to get my master's? So I'm completely overwhelmed. And then I was at a space where I had to figure out, here is your reality, and what are you going to do with it? And from that, birthed this book, and I became a mom author. And for those who are wondering, wait a minute, what is that, Candy? That is, and a lot of my verbiage in how I write is what some would call urban language, but wait a minute is short for wait a minute. And it is simply my prayer as I was journaling to God saying, hold on just a second. I thought we had this thing worked out. I had my plan. I was going to do this. I was going to be here and do this. And this is not looking anything like I planned. So that is what the gist of the book is about. But it goes all the way to what we're going to get into today, which is self-care. because ultimately for me to be the mom that I wanted to be, despite what my plans were, I needed to take care of me. And I was starting to focus so much more on my children, my husband, the facade of what a perfect family looks like now that I have one, that I began to forget about me. I was no longer, hanging out with friends, or at least not even hanging out. I'm not talking partying or anything like that. And not that any of that is wrong. I'm just saying I got away from that. And so I knew that it was time for me to take a step back and look at, what does it mean to take care of Candy? And that also meant that I don't have to always wear the hat of mom. I am more than just the title of mom. Yes, I'm a wife, a mom, an educator, but I'm so much more than that. And that means identifying what self-care looks like. So I would ask you, if you wanted to drop it in the chat and answer this question, or if you wanted to speak or come on camera, what does self-care look like? Or what immediately comes to mind? Okay, I'm seeing some responses. A quiet bath. I like that, Jocelyn. Ooh. Someone says, I don't even know. Yes, we get to a place sometimes we're like, I don't know what self-care might be. Going to Target without children in tow. I love that. I love that. Target, okay? We have a lot of Target moms here. I love that. So self-care, a night to get lost in reading a book. Absolutely. Hiding in the pantry with snacks. You guys are hilarious. I have to tell you that my husband, I caught him one day eating Pringles in the dark in the dining room, and he scared me half to death. I walked around the corner and he was doing just that. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, shh, don't say anything. They might hear us. And he's like trying to eat his snacks without them. They were little then, but it is hilarious. So I get that. Hiding in the pantry, a pedicure with a glass of champagne. Okay, so you ladies already know what self-care kind of looks like for you, and that is awesome. So the tips that I'll give today will just be a little bit of a reminder for you, being that you have an idea of what self-care looks like. I just didn't want us to always think that it had to be something where we have to spend money and it has to be lavish and we have to go and get massages and all of that. So we'll look at that and give some more tips. It's happening again where I'm not going to the next slide. It just changed?
No.
Okay. Okay. I'm hoping that's the next slide, but we'll just roll with what pops up. So self-care, the definition, what I have here is that anything that helps you physically, emotionally, or mentally recharge, whatever that may look like. Anything that makes you happier, healthier, and for you to feel like you again. Because I say that being that oftentimes once we have our children, we begin to just lose ourselves because we are pouring so much into them. We're worrying about meals and shopping and diapers. And as they get older, helping with homework. And tonight, my husband was going to open house in lieu of me because I'm sitting here. And we get lost in that then we just forget, Someone responded in the chat and said, I really don't even know what self-care looks like, because we just began to lose ourselves. So self-care is important because, one, you've heard this saying multiple times, you can't pour from an empty cup. We just can't. We know what that looks like in this lovely glass here of water. I loved it, so I had to include that in our imagery, being that when the cup is empty, what can we give to not only our children, but anyone who is around us? So when we get snippy or when we have our patience is running low, it's because our cup is empty. We become a better parent when we feel better, and our children need to see an example of a healthy, happy woman. That definitely, or these three things are the most important, I believe, and why self-care is so important. So 6 types, and I want to make sure that I'm staying on target here with time. The 6 types of self-care that I wanted to specifically pinpoint include physical, and I am awful at this, if I must admit it. I do not get as much exercise as I should. Every now and again, I will get into a spurt and say, okay, I am working out, and I will work out maybe for 3 days and then it's over. Or I'll give it 2 weeks sometimes and then it's over. But we all know the benefits of working out, and I do not have to give you all of the detail in that. Just finding time, even if it's a friend of mine and she's here tonight, will say, just go for a walk. A walk can alone be self-care, just to get away for a moment. Your mental, emotional, that is definitely self-care that you want to make sure you're taking care of, because once we get into a state, and that is what I focus on professionally at school. I am the social emotional learning counselor. We have our college counselors, but then there are counselors like myself where we focus on the mental health, which we know, especially since COVID hit, our students need a little bit more help in that aspect. And so we can't just leave it for our children. That means us as moms as well. And then there's the social community aspect of it. Don't disconnect from your friends and family. Again, allowing your children to consume your life. It is okay for us to leave our children. I explain that to my children. Oftentimes I communicate that with them. If dad and I go on a date, and my daughter is the one who has the problem with it oftentimes. She's like, why don't we get to go with you to dinner? And I have to explain and communicate that social time for mom and dad, or with our friends, or going out with adults, sometimes that is necessary. Yes, we love you, but you don't get to consume our entire world. And so that teaches them also a lesson in understanding that for mom and dad, and for mom to be a better mom, she needs her social community, she needs her time with dad. And so it makes us, again, better parents. And then the lifestyle aspect of it is us not forgetting our goals and aspirations and the things we want to achieve outside of motherhood. So to hear about teachers here in this group, to hear about mompreneurs in this group, to hear about authors, to hear all the different aspects of what we offer the world outside of just being a mom. Motherhood is great. It's one of my most favorite and most proudest titles to carry, but I'm not just a mom. So your lifestyle, you don't want to forget about what makes you you, and to set those goals and to work hard at the things before children that you wanted. Sure, it may take a little longer, but you can still keep working at it. Slow progress is still progress. Then there's the creative part. That's me all day long. I love to craft. I love to create. I love to sit. I just recently for Christmas got a Cricut machine, and I am making t-shirts and all. That is a part of self-care, if that's who you are. And then the spiritual part. So if you are a woman of faith, or if you are one who loves to do yoga, or whatever that looks like for you, you want to find out of these 6. It may not be all 6 of them, but you want to pinpoint which one works best for you and your own, what self-care looks like for you. It could be 2 of the 6. It could be 1. Whatever works, you just want to make sure you identify what your type of self-care looks like. So if we look at this little timeline here, and I won't read every single little snippet, but we want to make sure self-care, the ideas I want to give you as a mom, make sure we get enough sleep. Now, if you are in the phases of babies, I hate to tell you that probably won't be the season of motherhood where you get 7 to 8 hours of sleep. We all know that as moms. So do your best. Oftentimes other mothers will share, just say, take a nap when the baby's napping. But as they grow older, for those of us who now have older children, we know it gets better and you get to sleep longer and actually have a good night's rest. But the point is, get enough sleep whenever you can. Number 2, take breaks. Don't try to do it all at once. When we're feeling overwhelmed, we need a few minutes. Again, I say my children know my routine. I come in after work, and because, like many of you who are already educators, we're teaching other people's children all day long. Other people's, they're touching us, they need us, they want asking questions and all of that. So then I need to take a break from being a teacher before I can jump into, hey mom, can I tell you about my day? What's for dinner? I need you to wash my baseball uniform, or can you sign my folder? We have a field trip tomorrow. I need a break. And so now they know when I pull up at home, I sit in my garage. I sit in my car and I sit in my garage to give myself a break before coming in to what I say, I clock out to clock in. So before clocking back in as a mom, I make sure to take a break. Then find a hobby. Something you enjoy will help you feel more balanced, whatever that looks like. And it's quite fulfilling. Whatever the hobby is, stick to it, do it. I share with my mom all the time. I'm like, go to a Zumba class, mom, or go to one of those belly dancing class. Just try something to see if you like it. Because once you find your thing, you will find that it relieves so much stress. Eating healthy and exercise, I combine those two. We said it earlier. We know, and I know we're eating our children's chicken nuggets, or we're chauffeuring kids around and we stop and get a burger because you're on your way from one activity to the next. But if we're being completely honest with ourselves, and I'm talking to me too, we need to improve our eating habits. Nutritious foods is what is going to give us the energy that we need. And it definitely reduces stress and improves our mood. So definitely, if you can, and I am so guilty, I'm talking to me too. But if you can, try to eat healthy and exercise. And finally, here's the professional school counselor in me making sure, if you're struggling with anxiety or any other mental health issue, it may be depression, it's okay to seek professional help, right? Again, whenever we hear it, when our students or when our babies are physically hurt, we're going to run them straight to the nurse or to the doctor, no problem, because we want to fix it. But when it's mental health, oftentimes we're like, that'll be okay. We'll figure it out. Seek professional help. Do not be afraid to do that. And then this slide here gives you, I can share this once I share my website and towards the end, but this gives us 100 ways, 100+ ways that you can actually self-care without having to spend a lot of money. So if you look at it closely, we're looking at, if you like listening to the birds, if that's your thing, do it. Going to bed earlier, binge watching a TV show, that is my favorite. I just finished Virgin River. If you haven't watched that on Netflix, you will love it. It is such a good show. Looking at old photos can be a way for self-care, playing a board game, listening to a book. One of my friends, she enjoys listening to books. If that's your thing, that's self-care. Breathing deeply. I am teaching that to my students now as they are prepping and we're getting ready for exams. All of these things are self-care. So again, you don't have to spend a dime. You just need to take time for you, because why? You deserve it. You absolutely deserve it. I told moms today at school that you are already a good mom. The fact that we are all here in this space makes us good mothers. We deserve self-care and to applaud ourselves for the jobs that we're already doing. Do we make mistakes? Sure, but give yourself grace. That's self-care too. We can beat ourselves up so much if we make one wrong thing. Did I do this right? Did I teach him this? Did I do that? Give yourself grace. So here's what happens for mom when you neglect your self-care. You will feel pressured, okay? to give your children, I'm moving this out of the way, to give so much to your children that we forget to take care of ourselves. I've said that more than once, okay? When anyone, and that's just not moms, when anyone neglects to take care of him or herself, you are putting stress on yourself. And this is nothing new. Again, I said this entire presentation is just a reminder for you. If you haven't been taking time for yourself, do so. Stress can lead to mental effects, and we know that looks like depression and anger management. When our children ask a simple question and we immediately respond in anger, that is time for us to take a moment, take a breath. And finally, what happens to our babies when we don't, or when we neglect ourselves? What we're doing is teaching them a lesson that we unconsciously aren't trying to. We're saying it's okay to neglect things like our health and the habits. We're not respecting our bodies and the relationships. That's what we are teaching them. And we know that's not what we're meaning to. So again, our parenting can become a challenge. We don't want to make it harder than it already is. It takes energy to be a good mom, and we want the good energy. And that good energy means taking care of yourself. If we don't take care of ourselves, it becomes, just like it says here, more difficult for our children, or for us to care for our children. So that concludes what I wanted to share with you all on this evening about taking care of you, yourself. Yes, you are a great mother, and yes, you're doing a great job. So it is okay for you to take care of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think your website, your name, oh, it's so cute.
Oh, thank you.
I bet you had fun with that.
It has been. Some get it and then some don't sometimes. I'm trying to figure out how to get my, stop share is the button, right?
There you go. Can you tell us about your poster behind you?
So the poster here is what I used at my book signing, and I believe my friend is in here who made it, Sarah. She made this. This is what we used at the book signing just to attract those who are coming. But as a new author, I just wanted to have something visible for others to see, as I am a new published author and just trying to get things rolling and speaking and providing a space for moms to feel okay about saying that motherhood is hard. It's tough. So Way Meant God usually catches somebody's attention because they stop and say, what does that mean?
And we have a question in the chat, is that I dropped the links for them to connect with you, though they would love to know, is there a direct link to buy your book?
There is. It's an Amazon link, I believe. I dropped it into our...
Oh, I can go get it then. It was not on our Word or our email. So I will go fetch.
Gotcha.
I can fetch that for you. So you can do questions and I will go get that link.
That's a good wing woman.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you for asking. So yes, it's on Amazon. I also have it linked for those who are on Facebook. I'm assuming we all are, being that you found this particular space here. I have a blog as well, Sweeter Than Candy, same name. And so that link is all over my blog as I am continuing to share the book after it has been launched. But you can also just type in my name at Amazon, Candy E. Harris, and it will pop up.
I've got the link and I'm dropping it in the chat.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Okay. Okay. I will click it to make sure it also is the correct link, though it's from the doc.
Gotcha. I'm looking at some of the comments here. Thank you, Tanya. She said the book is so good. Thank you. Thank you so much. Someone said their husband is about saving coins. I love it. Any more questions for me? And then we will pass it over to you ladies. What all social media platforms do I use? So I am on, yes, Facebook. You found that link, awesome. You can also find me on TikTok. As I mentioned, and I don't know if I did mention, again, I did a presentation this morning. So now those who are educators, you know, sometimes from class to class, you don't know what you said to one group versus the other. So I'm not sure if I did mention TikTok earlier, but yes, I love TikTok and I share a lot of things mom related because I'm just what I call living out loud. And I just put it in a dance version or drag my kids into a dance, or my husband too, who does not like it, but he gets in there too. But I was on Instagram. Unfortunately, I got hacked and I was unable to retrieve my account. I'm sad about that. But, and I'm also on YouTube. So a little bit of where my family can get involved in that. My kids love to YouTube, but I'm not quite the editor. So mainly Facebook. Any others?
Just for parents here that have high school kids, I am wondering what's the number one thing that they are dealing with?
For parents who have high school children, as far as self-care or just...
No, I know, I'm kind of switching gears, just curious, while we have a high school counselor here and parents that have high school kids, what's the number one thing that kids say they're dealing with?
Mine right now is the stress of one, coming back from the pandemic and all things trying to get back acclimated to what the school environment is like. Here in Memphis, I don't know if you've seen it in the news at all, but Shelby County Schools is one of the second largest school districts in the state, but it was one of the only ones who stayed out the entire year. A little bit longer than some of the other districts. So our students, unfortunately, are struggling to get back into the groove of things. Most of my students right now, their major concerns, their stress and anxiety is coming from college applications, essays, ACT. Today, my presentation was to present to moms and parents their communication. They were wanting their parents, they're fighting for independence, especially my juniors and seniors. And moms are holding on still tightly and they are pushing back. And so it's causing a little bit of friction between parent and child. But when it comes to the academic arena, that's what they're looking at: ACT, college applications, essays, teacher reference letters, and all of that, along with the social part of friends and keeping up with the trends. And social media causes them and me as a counselor a headache, major headache.
We have the option too, for those of you, is we have a special thing with workshops for mom is to do breakout groups. So I'm not sure if you all have used breakout groups for our participants, though they're pretty fun. And so then that way you can go and actually get your questions answered one-on-one with, or, small groups anyways, with your speaker that you would like to talk to. So I think if you guys are game, so what we'll do is Candy's not leaving and Tracy's not leaving. I'll put them in the groups, and that way if somebody would like to ask you a question, maybe it's even more of a private question, you guys will hold the space, and then anyone is welcome to do that. And from the participant side, you are able to, down at the bottom of your screen, when you're on the computer, I know it's down at the bottom, it says breakout groups in just a moment. And then from the phone, I'm very sure that you can do it, because though I don't know what the exact button is. So if you need any tech support, the Ren room, I will bounce over there slightly after, just in case anybody needs help going to their groups. So I'm just excited to share with all of you all. So we will jump in and you can have some, yes.
Let's put a time on it. So because we finish at 5.
Yes.
Wow.
So maybe the next, like about
5
10 minutes. Something like that. Just and then you could also bounce between speaker rooms too. So that's what's fun for our participants is they can go in and talk, and maybe they have a question for different people, and that way more people can get their questions answered from the expert that they would like to talk to.
Okay, and then you can set a timer on that, and we'll all bounce back here.
And I can broadcast too, as well as those. And so
okay, because we're not seeing anything down at the bottom right now.
I'm telling you, because the moment that I open it, you two, Candy's going to go to the Candy room, and Tracy goes to the Tracy room. So they're not disappearing. They're just going to the room, and then you can go talk to them and get your questions answered.
So preschool, elementary, and high school.
There you go. And I'm Mompreneurs, and I'll be in the Ren room very shortly after I make sure everyone blips out.
Okay.
Okay.
Glad you can do this.
Yes, exactly. And then if you're watching the replay, you can also put #replay below these. And then we'll make sure all the links from our speakers are all there as well. So you can get, the book links, the free downloads, all your goodies are going to be right with this recording as well. So love to all of you. And then we'll come back in at the end. You'll see. So then Candy and Tracy will be back in here with the group. Okay, we'll put you into breakouts. Okay, so I think you have to click a button that says join, and they should do it. Okay. And Michelle, I'm not sure if you're around to hold the space just to be in this one. Okay. Cool. And then actually what I can just do here even is I guess, so I'll just hang out with you all. If you have any questions for me, Ren, then you don't have to. We've got friends over in the Candy room and friends in the Tracy room. So there we go. Any questions? Perfect. Anyone need help getting into their breakout groups? So there should be a button, and then you're looking whether you want to go into the Candy room or the Tracy room or the Ren room. Hi there, Peggy.